All right, let's see. Oh, I didn't even get a countdown. Wow. I think I'm already live. It looks like it. Yeah, it says live. 13 seconds in. Hi, everybody. This feels weird. Let me just say that because I'm here, by myself. I don't have anybody to talk to. And I think I pulled my ponytail too tight. So how is everyone? Hopefully all is well. And we're all having a great Friday Eve. That's what today is. So it's our first session on. Just want to welcome everybody, and for all the people who might be running just a tad bit late. I'm going to turn my phone off and do that. Hold on a second, Monica. Just come onto the page. Okay. So hopefully everybody's able to get in. We got somebody trying to get on. Want to make sure they're able to get in with no problem. Clipboard. Okay, I am live. Let's try that again. All right. So we're about a minute and a half in. Thank you for anybody and everybody who's on tonight. I'm very excited. This has been one of those things that has been in the making in my heart for quite some time. And I really think it's going to be something that's extremely beneficial to people. So I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome and just seeing, feedback and everything. And let's see. Sorry. And on. All right, there we go. So obviously this is designed for people who are first-time buyers. So that's the primary target audience, if you will. But even if you're not, if you're thinking about buying, or you bought in the past, maybe it's been a while, it's good to go through this, because one of the things that happens is that the more you're exposed to something, the more you become familiar and it's easier. So a lot of times, obviously, I work with a lot of home buyers, and a lot of times when I get to talk to people, one of the things that happens is that they have a lot of questions. They haven't been properly educated. People have given them completely erroneous information. Some people just left them stranded. They reached out for help. They never get a call back, or they talk, and because maybe their credit isn't what the person was expecting for it to be, then they pretty much ghost them. Things like that happen. And so what we want to do tonight and these next few weeks is just talk about what the process is for purchasing a home, availability of different types of products for loans. Tonight, we are also going to talk about the key players on your team. And I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation, because I did actually put something together that I could share with you guys. So let me pull that up, and that's unfair. I'm gonna push it back to the top. There we go. All right, so I think my computer is like really slow. Let me apologize for that, because it seems like it's taking forever. So we got about 30 minutes ahead of us, excuse me, of things to do. There we go. All right. So path to home ownership. They call me the house money mama. I would tell you guys a story about that, but we'll save that for another time. So let's just jump right in. I want to thank everybody for coming on. I do want to just kind of set a few house rules. So this is live. We're live right now. So if you're on right now, then you're hearing and seeing, and we can, coordinate and talk with each other and communicate and stuff. So as a matter of fact, let me pull my phone back out, because it'd be easier for me to keep up with this on Facebook on my phone instead. So, excuse me, there will be times where I'll say, hey, I don't know, if I might ask a question or something like that. And then if you could answer in the question, type in chat, that kind of thing, then I can see this information come up and we can kind of communicate one with another. So let's not delay any further. Question to you. My first question is, what year is it? Everybody should know the answer to this question. Of course, it's 2023. That was easy, right? See how easy that is for us to be able to communicate with one another. All right, so 2023, and who did I bring up to remind us of what year it is? The one, the only, that 6'6" chocolate man, Michael Jordan. And why did I bring him up? Because everybody knows his number was 23, right? So keeping in mind the spirit of 23. I mean, think about who Michael Jordan was, what he did, the things that he accomplished, being an MVP, being the first round pick, I think, when he first came in for basketball. He's a Hall of Famer, all these different things that he was able to attain and these different accomplishments that he was able to do. He is just a phenomenal person when you think about 23 to pattern yourself after. Now, I'm not saying pattern yourself after everything that he did, but there are some things that he did exceptionally well. And so I want to admonish you today, this entire year, not just January. And this is why I don't do resolutions, because resolutions, people say, oh, I'm going to change this. And they make all these major things that they say they're going to make adjustments on in their life, and then don't do none of them. By the end of January, maybe midway through February, they forgot all about the promises they made. We're not doing that. This year, what we're doing is we're patterning ourselves after somebody who we know is a phenomenal person, who was a winner, somebody who has some obvious achievements, these undeniable. So we're going with that. In the spirit of 23 this year, that's what we're doing. So I'm encouraging you that even as you think about your home buying path, even as you think about the different things that you plan to accomplish, go with that spirit. Go with that spirit of excellence. Go with that spirit of, I'm going to do this and get mine regardless of what else is going on around me. Go with that spirit of, you're not going to be denied. Go with that spirit this year, because this is the year 23 that you can accomplish what it is that you have set out to accomplish. We're here to help. You have a team, you have professionals. I have colleagues that are part of the lending team and part of the real estate team. I have partners in other states that can handle your lending needs if it's a place where I'm not licensed. Everything that you need, you can find right here for your home ownership journey. So I want to just admonish you again, in the spirit of 23, let's go ahead and get started. And as we do that, there's a proverb that I want to reference as we're moving forward. Prepare your work, outside, and get everything ready for yourself in the field. And after that, build your house. Now, why did I reference that scripture, Proverbs 24 and 27? Because you can't have the spirit of 23 if you are not prepared. I'm going to make an assumption that most people that are looking at this video right now, they probably already know that, because that's the purpose of signing up for a course that's 5 weeks, that's taking you through the different steps and giving you the information that you need in regards to home ownership and the journey that it entails. Preparation. We used to talk about this all the time on Water Cooler Wednesday when we did our podcast over the past couple of years. And that was one of the things that we focused on heavily. You have to be prepared. It's not an option. It's not something that you can think about and consider maybe or maybe not. It isn't. You have to be prepared, because nobody likes to have a transaction when there are surprises, namely myself. But trust me, real estate agents don't like it, title reps don't like it, and you will not like it as the consumer either. If things happen and you're like, well, where'd that come from? You weren't expecting it. Nobody likes the unexpected to come up in a transaction like that. So what you have to do is you have to put yourself in a position where you are prepared, so you know what to expect. I've had many different experiences with people where things came up in a transaction, but because we had already talked about certain things, they kind of already knew, well, this was a possibility, that was a possibility. It still didn't, alleviate all of the anxiety, but I can guarantee you it made it way easier for them to handle, because just the fact that they had a conversation with me, and I like to educate, I like to explain, I like for you to know what's going on. I'm not like in the Wizard of Oz, they had a little guy behind the curtain, you couldn't tell what he was doing. That's not me. So it's good for people to understand and know what it is that they're going to have to come across, because then that way they're more prepared, and that it makes it easier for everybody who's involved. There's a saying by Henry Ford: whether you believe you can do a thing or not, you are right. So what do we mean by that? when you think about what your goals and what your accomplishments are going to be for this year, you have to have 100% faith that you can do it. Now, I'm going to say this because of my experience with a variety of different people in the lending field. I come across this a lot. Sometimes people have been given erroneous information. Sometimes people, like I said earlier at the beginning, have been ghosted. You called somebody, you expected them to be professional, you anticipated they were going to help you. You're reaching out, and that's not always an easy thing to do. A lot of us are very prideful, so it's not always easy to ask somebody for help. But you reached out, asked somebody for help, they slammed the door in your face, they told you no, they didn't tell you why not. And then they didn't give you anything to hold on to. You had no kind of hope. And so I get that. I talk to people like that all the time. That's why we're doing this very thing. But you can't allow those previous experiences, because this is a new day. We 23s now, right? So this is a new day. So because of the fact that you now are in a different place, a different position, and you're surrounded by different people in this environment, in this community, when you believe that you can, you will. Because you don't have any more of the negative, the naysayers or anything like that playing in the back of your mind. All of that's over with. That's gone. That's yesterday. Today's a new day. So keep in mind, there we go, that what you believe you can do, that's what you can do. So we said tonight we were going to talk about some myths, right? So let's dispel a few of them right now. We got about 4. So myth number 1, the only upfront cost for buying a home is a down payment. That one is huge. Why is that huge? I'm not really sure. I think it really just comes back down to misinformation being put out there. Some people are, in their active salesmanship, they give information to kind of like dangle a carrot in front of you, if you will. They want to make you think that things are a certain way. Oh, you don't need any money. You just, all you need is just your down payment. Well, that's not really quite how it works. For FHA loans, there's always a minimum required investment. And even if you don't end up spending that money at closing, because I've had that happen where people had to show that required amount, but they didn't even spend it. Maybe they had to show $7,340.28. But they might have only came to closing with $1,200, something like that, depending on how their numbers worked out. So, I mean, to say that the only money that you have to have is just the down payment, that's not accurate. So that is a myth that's out there, people throwing that around. But again, that's why you're in this community, because this is where you get the true, real deal about how things go and what numbers really look like. You can't buy a house with bad credit. Lie. That is a lie. You can have, and when I say bad credit, I'm really referring more to the fact that, again, we've talked about this on other podcasts of the Water Cooler Wednesday. With bad credit, you can look at it a couple of different ways. So like for one, bad credit could just be your score. People say, oh, you got to have a certain score in order to be able to buy a house. I need a 700 score. Well, really, a 700 is good. I would love if you would come to me with a 700 score. But if you've got a 580, I can still do your loan. So having a lower credit score, or what people would call bad credit, does not take away all of your options for being able to buy a house. You need to make a 20% down payment. No, the reason why people do that is usually because what they want to do is they want to try to avoid the PMI. So when you go conventional, if you put 20% in, that's what they call a risk lowering factor. So the underwriter looks at that and says, okay, they got enough skin in the game. We don't have to put this PMI, the private mortgage insurance policy, onto the loan. And so when they don't do that, then that lowers your payment, actually, because you don't have the PMI that's factored in monthly. But you're not required to do that. You can actually buy a house with as little as 3% down if you're a first-time buyer going conventional, 3.5% down if you're buying FHA. And we even have some programs like for USDA and VA where you don't have to put any money down. No down payment required, 100% financing. Yes, they do that. Another myth, 30-year mortgage is the best option. Depends on your situation. That's one of those things where maybe for some people, the 30-year mortgage is the best option. For others, it may not be. I worked in relocation for a period of time, and the 30-year mortgage was not necessarily what they wanted to do. They were only going to be there for maybe 2-3 years tops, and then they would be selling their home. So for them, it made more sense to get maybe a 5 and 1 arm. something like that. So it depends on your situation. A lot of times when you get these never or always, they're usually not true because there's a lot of times there's some areas of gray where we can play around, with some of the what people consider requirements. They may not actually be in the guidelines of whatever financing it is that we're talking about using for you. So, all right, next thing. I'd like you guys to participate. If you can put it in chat, that would be great. Let's see. I don't see any comments, but if you can put it in the chat, that would be great. And if not, maybe send me a text message. A lot of you guys already have my number. So, but you need to know this. What is your why? And I've talked to people who their why was literally like, I'm tired of living with rodents. I don't like this area. I don't like this house. I have a slumlord for a landlord. I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to live here because, there's so many things that happen. I had so many losses, tied to this place. I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to live here anymore because I want to be in a better place. I want to be in a better neighborhood. I want I want to have a backyard, maybe like where you're renting right now. You don't have a backyard. You don't have a place where your children can play. You don't have the privacy that you really want. Any of those things could be reasons why you're ready to buy a house. For some people, it's just as simple as the pride of home ownership. You want to own instead of rent. So I heard this said before, and I think it's pretty true. Everybody's paying a mortgage. It's just, are you paying yours or somebody else's? So if you're going to pay a mortgage, then why not pay the one that's going to benefit you? Why not you get the tax benefits from that mortgage, from paying the taxes, from paying the insurance? And I don't know if you all notice it or not, but the way that things are going right now with rental prices, a lot of these rentals are about as much as some of the mortgages. Some I've seen is more. I closed a guy last year who, let me think, I think we closed him in July. And he saved about $200 per month from buying his home instead of paying the rent that was being assessed to him for the place where he was living in Chicago. So sometimes these prices can really just be out of control. so looking at it, is that being a reason why that it makes more sense. It just makes more financial sense. I'm making a good decision by doing it this way instead of doing it the other way, because I'm actually saving money and getting more of a benefit from it, tax credit wise as well. So what is your why? If you haven't thought about it before today, I really want you to think about it. It's extremely important, and it's what's going to keep you going, because I'm telling you, buying a house is not for the faint at heart. You have to be ready. Things can come up in a transaction that we had no idea, no way to have foresight about. Stuff can come up with sellers. I've had listing agents that have been unscrupulous as agents, and they did things that were not ethical at all. But we're not going to spend a lot of time trying to go back and forth with them. But you still need to be prepared. When you get to the point where the rubber really meets the road, you need to be able to say for yourself, okay, listen, I want to do this for this reason. Whatever that reason is, you fill in the blank. But whatever that reason is, because of that reason, you're not going to stop. You're going to keep going, regardless of how difficult it might be. Even if you have to get a gift from somebody, to help that last $1,000 or so for closing, whatever it might be, because any kind of thing can come up. But whatever that might be, you need to be prepared for that with your why. Is it important enough that this is what you really want to do, that you can continue to move forward? I talked to somebody yesterday, I think it was, and I believe I asked her to, I know what it was. I asked her to contact a creditor because it was just a medical collection. And I know for a fact, with the way medical collections are going right now, I know for a fact that if she calls them, pays it, they will delete it from her credit, and her credit score is going to go up probably about 60 to maybe 80 points. So that's a big deal. 60, 80 points on your credit. I like that idea. So I want that for her. So I told her she would need to do that. And she was talking about refinancing her car already anyway. And she just got flustered and she was like, oh, this is too much. I don't want to do it. I'd rather, I'll just, continue to rent. Okay, so you just want to stay in this place where you don't have no privacy. You can't sleep when you want to sleep. Your neighbors are keeping you up at all times of night. You can't paint the wall the color that you want to paint the wall. When you buy a house, you can paint the wall whatever color you want it. If you want to knock it down, you can do that too. But my point is, you have to have a why that is strong enough so that when things come up, and when it's difficult, and when you feel like there's too many things to do or it's overwhelming, of course you can call me. We can talk, or you can call your realtor. You can talk, whatever. But you also have to already be grounded. It needs to mean enough to you. Otherwise, if you're not, I would tell you don't do it. Don't even do it. Don't waste the time, because you're just going to be frustrated. So if you haven't already done so, but by this time I've been talking enough, you should have been able to think about it and figure out what your why is and maybe put it more succinctly into words. If you could type it in, just type it in and show whatever it is, the reason why you want to buy a home. You might be starting a new life. You might, maybe you're older and maybe you're at the point where this is going to be your forever home. You're ready to buy. And after you settle, you don't want to go anyplace else. That might be why you want to move. You want to find a place that you can call home, that you can stay for the next 15, 20, even 30 years. So whatever that why is for you, I want you to type that in so we can hear all about it. And while you do that, I got a couple more myths that we want to dispel today. So fall, winter are bad times to buy. What do you all think? Well, of course, I kind of gave the answer already because I did say it was a myth. So no, that's actually a myth. Fall and winter is really not a bad time to buy. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I used to think that too. The market does slow down. So I think that's why people say that, because the market can slow down. You won't have like this huge amount of inventory in the fall and winter. But I'm going to tell you, fall and winter are the serious buyers and the serious sellers. So in the fall and winter, the seller wants to sell their home. The buyer wants to buy it. So buyer, when you come to the seller, you say, hey, I want to buy this house. I see you have it listed for $250, but I really want to buy it for $240. The seller may be like, well, I'd rather sell it to you for $240 now than wait 3 or 4 months from now and see how much I'll be able to sell it for. Money today is better than money 3 months from now. So they may be more apt to negotiate with you. So for that reason, I think fall and winter are actually good times to buy for you as a home buyer. Another one, all lenders are the same. All lenders are the same. We all do the same thing. We just, it's just, hey, this is what I do. I do that too. No, not quite. So one of the things about me being a broker, and this is the very reason why I'm a broker, because I have so many options. So as a broker, when you come to see me, I have 130 different lenders, plus a little more than that I can look at their different products, look at their different pricing sheets, look at what things that they require or don't require, because that's another thing. A requirement or lack of a requirement can kill or seal a deal. So that sounded good. I should say that again. So all lenders are not the same. We do have different, and when I say we, I'm as a representative for the lender, because I'm the middle person, I'm the broker. So I get to look and see. It's kind of like when you go to the flea market. You go to the flea market, you got a bunch of different places that sell different things, but they all have different deals. They may be different costs. There may be different terms. There may be different conditions to whatever it is that they are selling to you. Because of that, they're not all the same. Where I get to be your shopper at the flea market. So I get to do that shopping for you and look at the different products that are available, the different interest rates, because that's another thing. If I can get the same product but a lower rate for you, oh, I'm going with that all day long. So we have the ability to do that as brokers. And my partners, the colleagues that I work with, they're brokers too. So they have that ability as well. You have to pay your student loans first. No, you don't. No, you don't. As a matter of fact, something really great that happened in what was that? I think August of last year. They actually set the amount that we have to hold against you for interest rates lower. For DTI, they made it lower. So we used to have to hold 1% against you for the student loans, but now we only have to hold 0.5% against you for student loans for FHA loans. So it's actually even more in your benefit now because that opens up a little bit more room in your debt to income ratio for you to be able to buy more. And another thing they did, I want to say the end of last year, is they removed the loan level pricing adjustments from FHA as well. So that's a little more difficult to explain. But basically what it does is that also opens up where your interest rate can, it won't take these hits. So it will be a little bit less because a lot of times what happens is when we look at interest rates, an interest rate might be say 6.5%, but then because your credit is below a 660, I may have to penalize you. So now instead of it being 6.5%, it's 6.375%. I'm excuse me, 6.625%. So by taking off the LLPAs, what that does is actually allows us to be able to be a little bit more competitive with the interest rates. Asking price on the house is set in stone. It cannot change. Well, I guess I kind of already gave the answer to that one because when we talked about fall and winter being good times to buy, that was one of the things I mentioned, is that the sellers are more apt to negotiate with you because of the fact, you know, the time of year it is they want to sell it. So the asking price is not set in stone. It's actually negotiable. If they say they want $250,000 for it, you can say, how about 240? They say, no, I want 245. You say, no, I'll give you 243. You say, okay, I'll give you 247. You can go back and forth with them, just like the people on the I'm not good at doing it, but you get the drift. So, all right. Moving on to the next part. Fear. It can mean one of two things, and you got to figure out what it means to you. It can mean forget everything and run, or like the 23s that we are, Michael Jordan's, we 23s. It can mean face everything and rise. So that's the decision that you have to make today. What are you doing? Are you going to forget everything and run, or are you going to face everything and rise? Now, I know my 23s, I already know your answer. You're going to face everything and rise because that's what we're doing in this year. So quick question for you. How many of you have attended a first-time home buyer financial empowerment or real estate workshop or seminar before? I wish I could see you all raise your hands. If we were in a room together, then I could see just by show of hands for people to do that. But since you aren't, if you want to type in, you're welcome to do that too. You can show it in the in the chat what you've attended before. Now, if you did attend something, any of those three, first-time home buyer, financial empowerment, real estate work, you know, they do stuff like that all the time. So you can even attend a lot of these online. How many of you actually took what it was that they told you in the workshop and you put it into play right away? You just went and did everything that they said. Everything that they told you, you wrote it down, you took that list, and then just one by one, you just start to execute, just execute, just execute. Anybody do that? Most people don't. And I know that a lot of times it's because of what we just talked about, that 4-letter word, fear. So this year, of course, because we are the 23s, we're going to be doing something different. We're not going to just talk. Proverbs 14:23 says, in all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. So you can't gain anything. You can't get any better. You can't get to the place where you're trying to be if you just talk about it. It's time to do it. So we're not going to allow fear cause us to forget everything and run, but instead what we're going to do is fear mean face everything and rise. And that's what we're going to go with for this year, this entire year, not just January, but all the way through December. We're going to be holding hands, walking together, kumbaya, all that good stuff. We're doing it all. So here's your first assignment. Be careful how you talk to yourself because you are listening. Be careful how you talk to yourself because you are listening. So what we're going to do today, just to get everything started, is we are going to do a language change. I bet you know you was going to be bilingual when you left here, did you? So today we are learning a new language, and it's real simple. You actually don't have to add anything, but you are going to remove something. So we're removing these words from your vocabulary. Trying, because we ain't trying nothing. You know, I think they said that in Star Wars, there is no try. Okay, that's how we are. 23s, we ain't trying nothing. Everything, we doing it, and we doing it with intention and power. We're not trying. Can't. It's another word we're removing from our vocabulary this year. I don't want to hear you saying you can't. That's not even an option for you. It's really, how can I? That's your question. That's the question I expect you to ask yourself this year. How can I? You determine what it is that you want to do, and then you figure out how to do it and you execute. We're not going to be like the old people in 2022 when we went to a seminar or a workshop. We heard everything they said, got to get good information, but then we didn't do anything with it. That's not us this year. We 23s this year. It's 23. So now we're going with we're not saying we're going to try. We're not saying that we can't. We're not saying, oh, it always goes this way. Oh, it never works out on my behalf. We ain't doing none of that this year. That's not us this year. This year, we are in 23. We are the 23s. So we're going to learn a new language, and we're going to start speaking those things that be not as though they were. We're going to put in our minds that because I said it, because I see it, it's going to happen. And that's just it. And I will stand in agreement with you every step of the way to make sure that that happens. Still learning a new language. A couple more things we want to remove from our vocabulary. Some phrases now. That's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Nothing that there's a scripture I think that talks about that too. Nothing is impossible to him who believes. So your faith, you walk, this is a faith walk. Listen, I am unapologetically and unashamedly Christian. Okay. So when I reference scripture, I'm not apologizing for that. So if you planning on sending me a message to ask me to, don't even waste your time. That'll be a lot of waste of your energy. Don't even do it. So there are things that we just need to know and understand, because we need to know who we are. Everything that we need is already on the inside of us. There's nothing on the outside except for what it is that we speak. God spoke things into existence. We speak things, and it's continuing to happen every single day. And I'm not saying you're going to speak your mortgage into existence, but what I am saying is that it's going to start with the thought. The thought is going to become a word. That word is going to be spoken and put out into the atmosphere. And once that happens, then there's going to be actions that begin to take place after that. And so you're moving from one step to the next step to the next step to get to where it is that you need to be. So we're not saying that's impossible. We're not saying I don't need any help. We're not saying I know that. You don't know everything. And we're not saying it's not fair. Because in the words of Scar from The Lion King, life's not fair. And hey, that's just the way it is. But it doesn't make a difference if it's fair or not. What we're going to do is make it work in our favor. That's what we do as 23s. All right. So I'm going to introduce you to a couple of people that are going to be on your team, because a lot of times we don't know and understand who all these different people are. I've talked to people, when they're getting ready to buy the house, and they didn't know that they needed an agent. They didn't know that they needed an attorney. They didn't know that they were going to have to hire a home inspector, all these different things. So I just want to talk about that real quick so that you guys understand who's who and what's what. So the first person I want to talk about is your real estate agent. That's your realtor partner. That is the person who sends you the listings from the MLS. That's the person who helps you narrow down what it is that you're looking for in the home. And then they go out and they try to find that for you. Excuse me. And then you work with them as a team, and you guys go out and look at properties together. Of course, they coordinate with me, because I need to be the first person, your home loan specialist. I need to be the first person, the first line of defense in regards to your financial transaction, because we need to know that you're able to afford reasonably, because we don't want your house poor. So we need to know you're reasonably able to afford the home that you intend to buy. So your real estate agent will help you to find what it is that you're looking for. They will literally physically take you out to a home. You guys walk through it together and everything. They'll send you listings by way of email. So you always got to make sure you check your email from your realtor. And then they'll also be the ones that put together an offer, so you can have a contract on the house that it is that you want to buy. So home loan specialist, that would be me, the house money mama. So what we do as loan originators is we're the number people. So I always say, I'm the numbers girl. I'm the one that comes up and figures out what it is that you're able to afford. I'm the one that tells you, okay, yeah, well, taxes are a little bit higher here, so we're going to have to adjust, the purchase price, whatever. Those kind of things are what I'm responsible for. I'm the one that issues your pre-approval letter. And then also I'm the one that once the contract is signed, you come back to me and we put that contract into the underwriter, because then the underwriter is the one who has the final say as far as whether or not the loan is approved. All right. real estate attorney. That'll be your next person. So I don't know who else is going to watch this later because I believe it is being recorded, but your real estate attorney, they're not required in every state, but Illinois, that's my main state. That's where I live. So Illinois actually is an attorney state. So in this area, in the metropolis of Chicago, we do have real estate attorneys. And so they are responsible for looking at your contract. They put something in force called an attorney review period. So during that time, and there'll be another, there will be another session where we talk a little bit more in detail and explain everything that they do. But they look at the contract, they put in attorney review, they pretty much advocate for you. Any issues that come up, especially inspection, when inspection time comes, then they're likely going to be the ones that are advocating on your behalf to help you if something is wrong that needs to be fixed, or maybe you want to get a credit for it, however that's going to work. But you guys talk to each other and figure that part out. Home inspector. Obviously, we just talked about inspection. Now, an inspection is not required. It's not something that you have to do in the context of your transaction. It's not like as a lender, I'm going to say you have to get a home inspection. I can't do that. Now, I can tell you have to get an appraisal because we do have to know how much the house is worth. But the home inspector is someone, they give you like a report card of the house. So they tell you, hey, this is good. This, the roof is probably going to last you for the next, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. They'll tell you, well, your furnace really needs to be serviced. They'll let you know anything that's wrong with the house, anything. They basically grade everything like, red, yellow, green. Green obviously is good. You don't have to worry about it. Yellow is a little bit of caution there. We might, want to look at fixing that or put some money aside to be able to do something about it in the next 5 years. And then red is like, okay, look, y'all need to do something about this before we close. So different things like that is basically, that's how they're going to use to be able to explain to you what's going on with the house. And you want to know, again, like I mentioned earlier about surprises, you don't want none of those. You don't want to buy a house and then have all these surprises come up because you didn't get an inspection. You don't really know what's going on with the house. That would not be a fun thing for you. Okay, next person, insurance agents. Actually, I do that too. I'm licensed for property and casualty in Illinois, so that's something I can help you with in this state only, though. But your insurance agent, they're going to help you to get a policy in place to cover your home. Again, we will talk about that in a little bit more detail on one of the other sessions later on. I think it's the fourth session, if I'm not mistaken. But at any rate, they will be the ones that will help you out with that. They'll get you quotes. Like I'm a broker, so I usually look at a couple of different insurance companies. And then once I determine what works the best and what's most affordable, with the most amount of coverage, then I make that suggestion for you to use that company as your insurer. Appraiser. So a lot of people actually don't think of the appraiser as being someone who's on your team. They really think of them as kind of being on the outside. But I think of the appraiser as being on your team. And I'm going to tell you why. Who wants to go to buy anything? A car, let's just say. The car is worth $3,000. But the seller wants to sell it to you for $5,000. Do you really want to buy that car? Probably not. I would say most people would say, no, why would I pay more? Why would I pay $2,000 more than what it's actually worth? Well, that's what an appraiser does for you. So when you sign a contract and you're going to buy the house for $250,000, the appraiser comes out and says, okay, hold on a second. Let's see if it's actually worth $250,000. So the appraiser is still very much, you as a buyer, the appraiser is still very much on your team. And it's just fair and equitable for everybody involved. But I do think it's more beneficial to you as the buyer because they are explaining to you whether or not this deal works as far as the value, because there is a value to everything. So title services team, you don't have as much interaction with them because until you actually get to the closing day, because they'll be the ones responsible for you signing the paperwork. So here in Illinois, we normally go to a title services company, and that's typically where we have our closings. So you go there, sit down, the title closer, they'll come out and introduce themselves. They go over all your paperwork, make sure all the correct stuff is signed. They scan everything in to the lender, and then they give you a full package of all of your signed documents at closing. So that's pretty much what they do. They do some other things too, like with title insurance and stuff like that, and some behind the scenes stuff. But we'll talk about that again on the I think it's the 4th. I can't remember which one I have it on. But at any rate, so those are the key players on your team, what everybody does, and then we'll talk more in detail about some of the specifics so you can kind of see how everything fits together nice and neat. So I did want to just briefly get in because I know we're already 40 minutes in and we only, wanted to do like up to 50 minutes. So, but I did just want to tell you guys a little bit about what I can offer as a loan originator. So we can do all kinds of loans. Like I mentioned earlier, I am a broker. So I can do a no income loan. We call it a DSCR loan, a bank statement loan, which yes, that means you show me your bank statements and that's how I determine and calculate your income. Works great for people who are self-employed and making a good amount of money, but who don't show a lot of money in their tax returns. Asset depletion. We can take stuff that you own, money that you have in an account. We can utilize that to be able to qualify you for your payments on a home loan. I-10 is basically for those who are not citizens. They actually do have loans that we can do for you guys too. So that's available. Of course, we talked about FHA and 203K we didn't really talk about, but the 203K loan is the one that's for when you want to renovate a home. So you buy it and then you work the renovation costs into the loan. So it's all one loan instead of how traditionally you would have to go out and do two loans. You buy the house and you have to get a loan in order to be able to renovate it and, make any changes on it. VA, if you are a veteran, thank you for your service. I have a son who's in the military now. But they have a wonderful product for veterans. There's no PMI on the loan. The credit restrictions are minimal, extremely minimal. So we actually can do a loan like that for our veterans. USDA, that would be more like for the rural area, very special, specific type of restrictions on that loan. But if you're interested in living in a place where it's considered rural, and you have to go onto the site, we can look it up, but you'd have to go onto the site and see if the area would be determined a rural area by the USDA, and then we can figure out if it works for you. Conventional, of course, is your regular loan for if you want to put 3 to 5% down on your first time buying. Usually if you have better credit, they're a lot more stringent when it comes to the requirements for credit. We do have a no FICO loan as well. So that means that even if you don't show a credit score reporting, we can still get a loan done for you. And then the rest are more geared toward commercial, self-employed buyers, things like that. We have a P&L loan, which basically means just profit and loss. So if you have your P&L statements, we can actually utilize that to help you qualify. I do have some SBA loans too. So small business owners, they allow us to originate a couple of, just like two, but but we do have the ability to originate a couple of SBA loans as well. So there's a lot of different options for what you can do, whether you're looking to buy your first home or whether you are looking simply to do an investment. Maybe you're already a homeowner and you want to invest now. You're looking at some property that can make you money. So once we get you all as a homeowner, then we do want to move you to the next step, because real estate can make you money. Make no mistake about it. I wish I had that other slide, but everyone who is at least a millionaire has had some kind, I think 90%, I think it's 90% have invested in real estate. So definitely is something to think about. We are actually at the end. I know it's 6:45. I'm going to look real quick and just see if there's any questions. Let's see. Real estate can make you money. Make no mistake about it. All right. Okay. All right. I saw comments, but I didn't see any questions. So it doesn't look like you guys have any questions tonight. And that's okay, because we have 4 more weeks. Next week, you do not want to miss, because next week is going to be our very own Maurice Holmes. He'll be coming on and he will be going over credit restoration. He has a company called the Credit Restore Station. He left his full-time job where he was working in corporate America and ventured out on his own, and God has been blessing him tremendously. I'm not even sure how well he's handling his own business. I think he had to employ his daughter to be able to help him out, because a lot of people need help, and that's what we're here for. We're here to help. So he'll be on for next week. He'll be able to answer your questions in regards to credit restoration. This will not be aired next week on Instagram. It's only going to go out to this page for Facebook. So well, it'll go out to YouTube also, but I'd have to give you the link to be able to do that, because I have it semi-private. So if this is not information I'm just giving to everybody, I want to have a community of people that we can help. So with that in mind, if you think of any questions that you have, any concerns, any topics that you might want to cover, let me know. Either put it in the chat, go ahead and put down a comment or something like that. Or you're also welcome to call me, text me, 630-977-6150. That is my number. The application link, site, I should say, is on there. That's a link to the online application, www.housemoneymama.com. And you can definitely go there. Let me see if I can stop sharing. I think that's right. Okay, there we go. All right. So I hope you all enjoyed tonight as much as I enjoyed being able to come on. Again, we just really, really, really want to help as much as possible. That's the whole goal of being able to come to you for these next few weeks. I come across so many people that they just haven't been adequately educated. They haven't been given the right information. And so we're changing that narrative this year. We're 23s. We're doing big things in a big way. We're not just winning, but we winning big time. And so we're going to do that all together. We're going to celebrate with you. And yes, I will come to the title company and dance a hole in their carpet, because I'm so happy that you have actually achieved your home ownership dream. Everybody have a great night. Thank you so much for coming.